We are back. We are back for the Corner 3 podcast. Shout out. We already got Ron in the building. We got Aaron in the building on time, ready to hop in. Decided to join us during halftime of the Thunder game. That's real love because that's a top tier Thunder fan right there for sure. Hey, before we get started, Basketball Intelligence newsletter. Subscribe, share, like, check them out. Fellas, how y'all doing?
Doing good, man. It's good to be back home. I've been traveling for the last 10 days, so it's nice to be back in the house. But more importantly, it's nice to be back with my Corner 3 brethren.
How you doing over there, Dookie?
I'm good, man.
Did you just call that man Dookie?
I'm trying to shout this live link.
Dang, you call that man some straight Dookie.
I want to go on disrespectful and call him a devil.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised he didn't wear that suit he was wearing in the photos he dropped on the timeline. I thought he was gonna come in here looking official.
I left that blazer at work.
That's why. They may call me the mayor, but Jarrett's he's my mayor.
Nah,
right? Because that brother was looking sharp.
Don't put that on me.
It looked like a campaign.
Definitely.
It looked like a campaign announcement photo.
Yeah, running for council, city council, right there for sure. About to make some changes in DC.
Deacon Spence, either that or Deacon Spence.
Yeah, you need change for 100? I got you. Yo,
he about to open church service tomorrow.
Got all the keys. Which door we need? Hey, before we get into it, right? We gotta, speaking of on the timeline showing love, we gotta start off with none other than our mayor right here. Co-facilitated, but we don't really care about the co part. We don't care about the other person. Facilitated his first. Cool. I'm glad he was cool. He gave you respect. But here, we want to know your experience. So we don't care. We're not going to have him on to know his experience. You facilitated your first AMA today on content creation and journalism. How did that go? What was your experience? And did you get any crazy, weird, out of pocket questions?
Before you start, I want to know that you are a journalist now. Because you participated in speaking at a journalism event, but you always say you're not a journalist.
I was more of like a special guest,
yeah, right.
More so than a journalist. But no, I didn't get any crazy questions. All the questions were very, very thoughtful and actually very, very. They, like I said, very thoughtful. They made me think, and really just more curious. We were sort of the last session of the day, so we only had an hour, and I didn't expect that many people to come to our table because it was basically it was an AMA, but it was like a table session. So me and the other facilitator, we were just kind of sitting there. He has his own newsletter. He's got a history and he's got experience in radio, a little bit of TV, I think, and is definitely someone who I'm gonna, just keep in touch with and maybe even seek some counsel for some projects that I have in mind in the future. But it was cool. I was a little nervous. This is all still relatively new to me. It was obviously my first AMA, but I just recently completed a trusted creators cohort last year, so I got to take that with a bunch of other sort of new media journalists who are predominantly video focused. They all have their niches and do stuff way more important than dropping basketball related memes on the timeline. But that's sort of what got me into this summit, and it was fun. I just got to share a little bit of my story and answer some questions as to what I think about creators and journalists sort of really just sharing the same space now. You can almost think of content creators as being spawns of journalism. Really, they do a lot of the same things, and there's some friction there. I think a lot of journalists feel a little threatened by content creators. I think creators have a little bit more of a direct line to virality than, say, journalists. You think of a journalist, you got to think of a story, you got to get it approved, or you think of a story, you got to get it approved by an editor, you got to write it, or interview people, potentially write it, and then submit it to an editor. And then, you know, there's a number of sort of checks and balances you have to go through as a journalist, whereas a creator, you can kind of just hit the little red button and go live. So we talked a little bit about the responsibilities of creators, knowing that they do have so much influence, and, you know, how journalists can sort of work with creators to get the really important stories out there, and to make sure that the stories that are being shared are being fact checked and are truthful. And it was cool. It was nice. It went really quickly, and we had the most people at our table out of all the other tables that were going on. So it was a great experience. And stay tuned. I might have some more news to drop about future appearances I'm in elsewhere.
Okay.
Focus on true journalists.
Tour, a little bit of a speaking tour, but more on that later.
Oh, we got a speaking tour coming.
Not really. Not a legit, not a literal speaking tour, but I may be speaking somewhere else really soon.
Hey, we take it. You know, you ain't gotta downplay it. If you got a tour coming out, just let us know the dates.
No tour. Ain't nobody giving me money yet, so it's definitely not a tour, but it's definitely another opportunity coming up quickly that I'll share about. I'll share more about later.
Hey, make sure you share it in advance, because some people were not fans of finding out the day before that you were having this big event. So
yeah,
I know you.
That one.
I know you have a marketing wife, and you probably like to leave a little allure and not tell everybody. Real G's move in silence like lasagna. I see what you're doing.
Well, what's crazy is I actually kind of forgot about it because of all the other stuff that I had going on. I'd been in Florida for like 10 days straight. I was working 12-hour days. I got back, immediately jumped into husband mode, and it just really snuck up on me. I thought I had another week. But what's funny is we definitely weren't the headliners of the event, which is cool. We had people with PhDs and, well-renowned people in journalism there, and they should have gotten, the press that they got. But they had sent a link, and they said, oh, here are some social media graphics, because obviously they want people to spread the word to their communities and their followers. And so I was like, oh shoot, I need to go ahead and drop this social media graphic or whatever online. So I clicked in the folder. They didn't have your boy on. They didn't have your boy on there. I was like, oh damn, they don't even got a graphic for me. So that's why I just shared the little screenshot, because that's all I had to share. So it is what it is. But
dang, no silhouette or nothing.
Nothing, bro. Like, and I forgot to register. This is why I need my wife. Normally handles this stuff, like making sure that I'm as solid as I need to be. She registered for it because she was supposed to go, but she had a work conflict come up, so she couldn't make it. And I forgot to register. So when I got there, they had her name tag, but they didn't have one for me because I ain't registered. So I actually had to write my name in Sharpie. So I just told everybody that I snuck in the back. I just crashed the party. I wasn't initially a part of it. That's why my name tag was unofficial.
Hey Jarrett, before I go to the next thing, you had your deacon finger up. Did you want to ask something additional?
No. I was thinking about something, but never mind. I did some fact checking real quick.
Tell Ron I don't have any makeup on. I did get my hair done recently, which is why I'm not looking as rough as I did last week when we recorded. But I got the ring light on, so it's hitting my angles right, I guess.
All right, I'm gonna play this video for y'all. Y'all watch it. Y'all let me know, and let us know in the comments too. From watching this, what's your takeaways from this video right here?
The biggest thing that I see when I see all this Wemby talk is Wemby has sent a challenge out to the rest of the NBA.
Love it.
But there's nobody willing to bat him down and tell him, hey, you need to win a playoff series before you come talking any of that.
So who's it going to be? Because
who is it? Because I would love to know. Which one of y'all is it going to be?
Right?
Who going to say it? Who going to do it? Somebody needs to address this man, because he's addressing y'all. He is addressing y'all one by one. Somebody address him.
Hey, Jared, I want you to start it off, man. What's your thoughts from what Shump said? And it came out today. Wemby is now on the NBA.com MVP ladder, is number 1 over SGA. I did not think I would see the day, but he's number one. What's your thoughts? What say you?
For one, I do agree with what Shump is saying. And funny enough is Shump is not the first person I heard say something about that. Because it's been some talk that, Wemby's talking crazy and he has to win a playoff series. What has he done? Yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, I agree with it. If it's someone who should be saying something to him, probably should be Chet Holmgren. It's been well reported that Wemby supposedly doesn't like Chet. And Chet is the most recent champion. So maybe Chet need to check in. But honestly, I'm not surprised that he's first in the MVP votes. I think I know the whole controversy behind the 65 game rule, and everybody's kind of like trying to like now nitpick at it because a lot of the possible candidates for these awards is now possibly going to miss out on a lot of things. And Wemby is probably like the one person who actually has been kind of like right at the threshold of not missing it. Like I think he missed some games this year, but I think he hasn't missed enough to like be right on the cusp of missing it. So plus the defense is spectacular. We know what type of defender he is. So I'm not surprised at him being, number one MVP right now. Will he finish number one? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if he wins MVP. But if he doesn't, we know that the league as a whole, the media, they're going to have something to say like, oh, well, Wemby didn't win it. If we're talking about defense, how much do we value defense now? Because Wemby should be MVP. He's the best defender in the league. So I think whatever decision's going to be made is going to be talked about all summer.
Rush, I know you posted on Threads. You was kind of getting tired of the MVP talk because people were taking it. Some fans were taking it very personal, and everybody was obviously vouching and voting for their guy and who they wanted to win. If you care to share, what's your thoughts currently in this current situation of who is the front runner for MVP? Because I've also seen just as recently, I sent it to the chat. There's been discussion that Luka should be getting some more love, and maybe Luka should be in that conversation.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I think it depends on how you look at the MVP conversation. So like Aaron's in the chat, and he actually had a different lens through which he sort of looks at the race, whereas he really looks at it at only if someone is in the conversation, they only have a legitimate shot at winning the award, right? So you're really only talking about maybe like one or two guys. Whereas I know NBA.com does the top three guys, and most outlets that you look at, they at least do five. So I think when most people say someone is in the race, they're probably more than likely thinking about the top five candidates. So, I mean, if you're looking at it as top two, I think, and depending on what your criteria is, I think you could arguably say Wemby is number one right now. I personally would say Shea. I think it's his to lose. And I think one thing that's interesting about a lot of the top MVP candidates is that all of their teams have a winning record without them, though they've all missed different number of games, except Luka. So the Lakers are 500 when Luka has been out. So that's interesting. I don't know that it necessarily gives him an edge over anybody, but yeah, I don't know. As I've gotten older, I'm probably more grumpy. I don't put a whole lot of stock in the MVP race because it doesn't do anything for me personally. I mean, I think everybody wants to see the guy that represents their team win. But I try to be objective in everything that I put out and how I view the game. So I wouldn't have Luka as number one. I think he's had a hell of a run lately, but I think you got to look at the totality of the season. And I just think, personally, I think Shea's just been just as dominant, if not even maybe a little more dominant with his performances and his stats than he was last year when he won. And that's no shade to Wemby, but I just think Shea would get the edge right now if I had a vote. But Wemby's been just as impressive because he's been extremely dominant and not playing as many minutes as everybody else because they've been managing his minutes. So, there's an argument there. So I think it's going to be an exciting race. I think whoever wins, there's going to be a lot of people excited, and there's going to be a lot of people upset, feeling that someone got robbed, which will give us discourse for another few weeks. But yeah, I think all of that aside, it's been one of the more competitive races that we've seen in recent history, and I'm excited to see who gets the crown.
Hey, Jarrett, I want to ask you this. So, Ron in the chat, right? He asked, what about this criteria? Remove the player from the team. What does the team look like? Shea's defense or Wemby's defense?
Like who I would pick as far as defense, I would pick Wemby. But
what about the criteria part?
The criteria part, that's hard because the Spurs might actually still be a really good defensive team without Wemby, but Wemby is the hub defensively. It's a little different because they play two different positions, so SGA is not going to be, like the defensive anchor for his team. That would be Chet Holmgren. So it's going to be a little different to weigh the defensive metrics, I should say, because and Wemby's, 7'8", whatever, and blocking everything, grabbing every rebound. So, I mean, that's hard. But I do want to put out there that I do still have SGA as the MVP. I think I said in the beginning of the season, even though my Brunson take, I was half joking, but we know Brunson was winning MVP. But SGA definitely was the front runner pretty much all season long. I know it was back and forth between him and Jokic for a while, but I didn't think Jokic was going to get another one. I think the voter fatigue kind of was going to kick in with the media. I actually got to talk to SGA the other day about the MVP race, and I was like, "Hey, you think you want to get MVP again?" Because I asked him last year if he thought he was the MVP like halfway through the season, and all he said was, "We're going to see." So I think he believes he's the MVP as well. I don't want to jinx it, but I do believe he is the MVP.
Yeah, it looked like you was about to say something. I
didn't know. I never know how in sync our streams are. Like, because there's a lot of times where I start talking and my stuff is delayed, and then you start speaking, and then we have that awkward like, oh, you want to go? No, wait, you go. Oh, so no, I don't have. I mean, I think Jalen has definitely had a hell of a year, but one thing that gives me pause is his on-off numbers. If you go look at them, they're actually a lot according to the numbers. I want to qualify what I'm saying. If you look at the numbers, they're actually significantly better when he's off the floor as opposed to when he's on. They're still good. They're still net positive, but they're actually significantly better. I think the last time I looked, they're like 10 points better when he's actually off the floor. So that's kind of like it's a testament to how solid the culture is in Boston and how good that team is. You got a number of guys who can step up, whether you're talking about Pritchard, whether you're talking about Derek White. You've got Hauser who can come in, can be really good defensively, but can obviously shoot the lights out. That whole team is just sort of bought in and they're committed to that system. But I think Jalen is in the conversation for sure, but I don't know that I would put him at the top, even if you go the criteria of take a guy off a team, how well does that team perform? Because if that's the criteria, as I said a little earlier, if that's the criteria we want to use, Rome, I'm just saying, my Slovenian Jesus should be MVP. if that's the criteria we're using, I'm just saying. But I don't think that's the criteria that we should use. Probably strictly for that reason.
Oh man. Staying with that conversation of you mentioned, of course, that's a great point about the Celtics and the on-off numbers, which again, I think we are in a great space, and I am a fan of the analytics and the numbers. You could really, in most cases, unless you're talking about the Trailblazers this season, unless you're talking about the Brooklyn Nets, you could really find some analytic to back up your claim in some way, shape, or form. It's a bunch out there, a bunch of websites. So I think that is important, and you just got to be able to understand how to use these analytics and what it actually it means. But you mentioned with Celtics, let's predict, man. Who do y'all see actually being the top 4 seeds in the East? Because right now we have the Pistons, who have a 4.5 game lead over the Celtics. Celtics is second. The Knicks are a game and a half back from the Boston Celtics. Then you have the Cleveland Cavaliers at 4. At 5 is the Atlanta Hawks, 4 games behind the Cavs. You started off.
Who's starting it?
Rush, you started off.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, roughly 9 games left for most teams. I don't, even with Cade out, I don't see Detroit relinquishing that number 1. So I think what we're really talking about is probably 2 through 4. How are those seedings going to shake out? Boston had a really big win against Aaron's Thunder the other night. Might have been last night. I don't know. My days kind of run together. I had too much bourbon before the show, but it was the kind of win that can, everybody had all their guys, for, I think, without any exceptions. So we really got to see a head-to-head matchup without any asterisks. And Boston played really well, and I think that's the kind of win that could sort of propel them through the end of the regular season. If we're to look at sort of strength of schedule, which is my new favorite thing to do on these episodes, Boston's got like the 12th toughest, and OKC is at like number 2. New York is number 3. So New York has to play OKC once, Boston once, Houston, Atlanta, Toronto, and Charlotte once. And Detroit they have the 6th toughest. They've got OKC once, Minnesota twice, Toronto, Philly, Charlotte, and Orlando once. So, that could be pretty interesting. If I got to put money on it, I think everything stays as it is. I think 2 through 4 is Boston, New York, and Cleveland. Damn, it's only been like 4 weeks, but I think I need to walk back my my Cleveland prediction already. These boys, it's probably me. I probably jinxed them. But these boys started folding as soon as I agree with Chuck. So I think that they're pretty solid there at 4. The team I'm looking at, and I'll say this and then I'll shut up because I know this is another one of our topics, but I think Charlotte, man, I think they could get all the way up to 6. I just do. But if they somehow end up at 8, Detroit and Cade's not back, Detroit could be primed for an upset. That's all I'm gonna say.
I forget the name of the site. I'm so mad. I will drop it in the comments afterwards, but it's a site that gives you the percentages of where everybody could possibly land. And Charlotte getting up to 6 was about a 9% chance last time I looked. 9% chance all the way up to 6, and then it was like going down to 10, like a 68% chance. Yeah. They could possibly get it up there. Do you think, I'm going to just push you on the spot, with the 9 games left, they currently are in the 9th seed right now, 7-3 over the last 10, 5-game winning streak. They are only a game back from the 7th seed,
right?
2.5 back from the 6th seed. And the 6th seed right now is the Toronto Raptors.
What are you asking me? What are you putting me on the spot about?
Are they going to get that 6th seed? Yeah.
I think it's possible, but if I had to put money on it, I would say probably not. I think they land somewhere between 7 and 9 where they are. I don't know how much confidence I have in Toronto, really. They don't have too tough of a record, or of a schedule remaining. Like, they've got 10 games left. They got to play Detroit once, Boston once, New York once, Miami twice, Orlando once, but they've got, Brooklyn, Sacramento, Memphis, and Orleans. So they could win enough of those games in that stretch to hold on to the lead. I'm not sure what the head-to-head looks like between Toronto and Charlotte, but I think they probably hold on, and Charlotte ends up somewhere between 7 and 9. If I had to put money on it.
We're gonna stick right there. We're gonna give the Charlotte Hornets some love. They get into that. They're getting into the playoffs, right? I predict, if they're a playing team, they'll get in. Any team that they face, even if they get to the 6th seed, is there any team that the Hornets could face that you think they can actually get out of that first round?
Is there any team that the Hornets could face that I think they could beat in the first round?
Yeah.
I think if they somehow manage to, I think the team that they have the best chance at beating, if they were to somehow make it up to the 6th seed, would be the Stephen A. Smith's favorite team, the New York Knicks. I'm just saying, man, like they just shaky, man. They just I can't. They were my preseason pick to represent the Eastern Conference in the finals, but they're not doing it for me. They're not doing it for me, man. They're just real shaky. So I think that if they get to 6 and they get the Knicks, I think that I would circle that series to more than likely go 7. But I think that they would give the Knicks a scare because it's all house money from here, right? Like nobody took the Hornets seriously. Like they're not supposed to do anything. Turns out their starting 5 is statistically probably one of the best in the league, if not the best, if you look at net ratings. And there's just no pressure at this point. Anything they do is an overachievement. And no loss for them is going to be like an upset or a disappointment. Like everything is a positive from this point on. So, and then you get a team like the Knicks. You already got the whole Cat storyline that's been lingering all season long. You got the whole, is Mike Brown a coach that can take the team to the next level? Matt Barnes already say he's not a leader of men. So they've got a whole lot of stuff there that's sort of gonna rear its ugly head should they lose before the Eastern Conference Finals. So I think that kind of pressure, and then you got a young team with nothing to lose that's really explosive. It's just a bad combination. So I think that they could find themselves in danger of an upset. But that would probably be the team that I think they have the best shot against. But I think the Knicks would obviously still be heavily favored.
All right, so
not heavily. I think that they would be favored in that matchup.
We're going to stay right here. We're going to keep giving the Charlotte Hornets some love. We got a question that just came in right here. Probably Kabari in the building. I know that the preference is talking about.
There's that scarf. There it is, baby. I see it.
Do you think Charles Lee should get a Coach of the Year nod for this Hornets turnaround? In his opinion, it's really impressive. And Jarrett, you could chime in on this too.
I'll let Jarrett go first, actually. I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, I think he should definitely get some consideration for Coach of the Year. Like Rush said, this is house money what they're playing with at this point. I don't think anybody really expected Charlotte to be this good this late in the season. They did have their struggles earlier in the season, and there was a lot of talk about trading LaMelo Ball, which I understand a lot of people don't like his play style. But to me, I think he's the engine for this team. I think he's the one that makes this team, special because of his creativity, because of his height, because of his shooting ability. At the point guard position, I feel like he's the guy who gets everything going. So will Charles Lee get Coach of the Year? Probably not. But if Charlotte was to get a top 3 seed in the next 2 years, I can see him getting Coach of the Year.
So, Rush, I want to ask you this, right? The question that was asked, but also when it comes to these awards, it's always very interesting because we don't really have a mapped out criteria of what is expected for these people to win. In your opinion, though, what makes somebody the coach of the year? Is it the most wins from the previous year? Is it because they changed the culture? Is it because they were able to unlock a certain player? For you, what defines coach of the year?
I think it's like any other award, really. It's just at its core, it's a narrative award. So, if a team gets off to a really hot start, and it's not expected, then I think that coach is automatically sort of pushed to the front. But for me, I think it's somebody who overachieves with what they have in terms of talent. So, or overachieves in terms of the circumstances like surrounding their team, right? So, like, I think you got to look at Joe Mazzulla, in addition to Charles Lee, because majority of people, because I know Tone is going to be like, oh, I said that they were going to be fine. But if you look at the majority of people and pundits, they thought that the Celtics were going to be like 6 seed, 7 seed territory, like potentially even playing, because so much roster turnover in terms of their top contributing players, and then the Jason Tatum injury. And yet they were, up there at the 2 seed before Tatum came back, I think. So, yeah, I think I don't know that there's any real defined criteria, but I think a coach who gets the most out of his team and is able to get them to overperform, whether that's just strictly based off talent or if it's based off of, roster circumstances like injuries or both. So, like, I think you got to look at what's the coach in Sacramento's name, or San Antonio's name? San Antonio's, what's the name of San Antonio's coach's
Mitch
name?
Johnson.
Mitch. Yeah, I think you got to look at Mitch too, because I don't think anybody had the Spurs being this good this soon. I think most people would have thought they were a year to 2 years away, and here they are. So I think you got to look at all those circumstances. And if it's JJ Redick, that means it's LeBron. I'm wrong. I don't know what it is, man. Nobody's picking on the Lakers. But I do think it's interesting that JJ Redick doesn't. I do think. Say what?
He was talking to me because I said I have Duke sweater and Lakers shorts on right now.
Oh, yeah. I do think it's interesting that JJ Redick doesn't really get a lot of love when it comes to Coach of the Year, because dude has had like no coaching experience whatsoever before last season. And even though you could say, oh yeah, he had LeBron and AD and then he eventually got Luka, we've seen coaches with talented players and not be able to get the most or maximize his team's potential. So I think for him to do that 2 years back to back, he's probably going to win north of 50 games this year. It's interesting that he's not in the conversation. I'm not saying he should be a front runner, but I think he should be one of the guys that's mentioned with some of the others.
I think he should definitely get a top 5 finish for sure. The thing that some people don't, recognize goes into coaching is the aspect of managing egos and the personalities that you have going on in that locker room. It's a lot going on in that locker room. You got LeBron. We got to manage that. Coming on the back end of his career, but he's back end only by age, but the talent is still there. He's not a regular 41, 42-year-old player. You got Luka, who's in his prime. You got Austin, who is heading into his prime, trying to figure out what he want to do, and you got to massage that ego so you could hopefully he comes back next year and y'all sign him. DeAndre Ayton, all that you had to deal with this year of that roller coaster of Ayton. It's a lot that goes into that. And also, I mean, he draws up some good plays. I mean, even if it's not him and his people on his coaching staff, forget what that was, that last game that they played where Luke Kennard had that game winner. LeBron had an open layup, and then Luke Kennard had an open 3. That was drawn up by JJ. Like, JJ definitely deserves some love for sure. Sticking in the conversation where you're talking about some of these NBA awards, this is probably one of the most loaded years for this award. Obviously, MVP is the main entree, but this award right here, there's a lot of names that you could choose for this, and I'm interested who Jarrett and Rush pick, and y'all let us know in the comments, who do y'all have? And if you're watching this right now, press that like button and share it. Jarrett, who's your most improved player of the year? And before you even give me the answer, I want you to share. How do you define most improved? Is it just the person that has the most points per game from the previous year? Is it actually improvement in skill? What do you, for you, categorize most improved, and who is your MIP this year?
I knew he was going to ask that question. So it's a lot of things that I take in consideration when it comes to most improved. I'm going to go back a few years ago when number 2 overall pick, projected to be a superstar, John Morant, won most improved player when he was the 2nd overall pick, projected to be a superstar. He was compared to Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose in college. So, with that being said, I think most improved, you should be at least in the league for like 4 or 5 years or something like that. It can't be just 1 to 2 year jump. Usually players make a significant enough jump between year 1 and year 2 because you're adjusting to the game. Now, if the player is kind of on the tier but still hasn't really made that jump by year 4, year 5, year 6, then we can say, all right, he finally made that leap. He should get most improved. So for me personally, and maybe this might be no bias because he was a former Wizard, Denny Avdia. But I'm going to explain why I think Denny Avdia is the most improved player. So based on from me watching him covering the Wizards, he was a little not as confident with his skill set when he was younger with the Wizards. And he showed flashes throughout his time with Washington. So a lot of Wizards fans are a little mad because of the situation that Denny's in now because he became an all-star and he basically was traded for Bob Carrington and Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon not in the league anymore. Bob Carrington we're still trying to figure out what is going to be his ceiling as a player. But we know what Denny is now. Denny is an all-star. Denny also has learned the NBA game as far as how to manipulate refs, get calls, get fouls, and everything. That also builds his confidence. His driving game is a lot better. His three-point shooting is a lot better. His playmaking is a lot better. He's been put in a lot of situations where he has the ball in his hands and he's thriving. So, with all of that, that shows me he is the most improved player because it took him some years to learn the NBA game and he became an all-star. Not just some player who just, his second year, he averaged 10 more points this year. Let's give it to him. No, that shouldn't be how it works. Like, I just never understood the sentiment of praising these lottery players who are projected to be stars and they get most improved. Like, even when it was someone else that they was projecting to get most improved when I think it was like Luka or something like that. It was some crazy thing, and Luka was like, no, like I shouldn't be most improved. Like I know he probably didn't think like was gonna say I'm a top player, blah blah blah. But Luka knows his game. He knows that it just takes time for him to develop into his league. Like he's not a most improved player. He's an MVP player. Like from the time he walked into the league, we knew what he was going to be. We didn't know what Denny was going to be when he first came into the league. And we didn't know he's going to become into this all-star player. To me, that is the definition of an all-star. Of a most improved player.
Question, right? So with all that shared for Denny Avdia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Next year, Damian Lillard is back.
Mm-hmm.
That's gravity. He is Portland. Best player in their franchise history.
Mm-hmm.
High usage rate. If you the coach, and we're not talking about Chauncey Billups. If you the coach, I mean, the current coach,
Thiago Splitter.
Tiago Splitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's your thought process and how you make that offense work now with Dame back? But then he has shown he can be that number one guy.
So I will look at it like a situation where, like a Golden State situation with, I'm not comparing Draymond Green to Denny Avdia, but the playmaking aspect as far as being the point forward with this team. I think Denny can be the main primary ball handler for this team. And honestly, I just don't see Denny as the first option, even when Dame comes back. But we still have to see what Dame is when he comes back. We don't know if Dame is going to be the Dame of old or his game is going to be completely different because of the injury, and he's getting older. So, but if either way, Dame can play. He's such a good of a shooter, and he creates that much gravity off the ball that he can play off the ball and play off of Denny. I don't think. I mean, let me not say that. He has never played with a player. No knock on CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum is a great scorer, but he doesn't create for his team like Denny Avdia does. He doesn't have the height that Denny Avdia does. He doesn't have the downhill ability like Denny does. So Denny will create more matchup problems that will get Dame in better scoring situations, and Dame won't have to be taking, 45-footers all game just to, have his team a chance to win. Plus, if they still keep Drew Holiday, like if they keep the same team that they have now, Dame doesn't have to do much on offense because they have a pretty balanced team all around. So Denny can still be Denny with Damian Lillard. I think it'll be Damian Lillard who has to be the one to kind of adjust.
I'll tell you this. I know next year, I'm saying it now in advance, that's one of the teams that I think will be a play-in team that will have that turnaround after year. You add Dame to the mix. I think they'll both have to adjust, but you add those two to the mix. Yeah, I think that definitely puts them in position. And we've seen flashes throughout this year with that young core that they should be able to be a play-in team. Ron axes Dame.
They're a playing team now, to be honest with you.
They're like 10th right now.
Yeah, they're not. They won't go below 10th because New Orleans they're in 11th with 49 losses. So they're already kind of in that play-in.
I can see them.
Level. So
Yeah, I can see them 7th, 8th seed next year.
Whoa, hold on. New Orleans is 11th right now?
Yeah, they're 25 and 49.
After the bad start that they had.
DeJounte Murray, since DeJounte's been back from the Achilles, they are a over 500 team.
You know how bad they were at the beginning of the season, though? Like, they were horrible.
Hey, the DeJounte Murray effect.
Yeah, DeJounte Murray's a really good player. Like, I'll definitely give him that. But kind of surprised that the Pelicans are that high in the seeding at this point. I thought they would be at least 14th.
Yeah. To answer Ron's question, I think yes, Dame is the best NBA rapper, but Rush, your MIP.
I'm gonna get to that, but we've got a nuisance in the chat, so I'm gonna tell Ron right now. I need him to get himself under control because he's already mentioned Bronny like twice. Bronny ain't done nothing to nobody. All right, so I need you to stop picking on Bronny. Okay. It's unnecessary. Leave the Jameses alone. Or leave the Los Angeles LeBrons alone. My pick for most improved is Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think once Trey, I mean, he was playing well before the trade, but I mean, if you look at his overall numbers, he's jumped up, and I think we talked about this on our last or second to last pod. He's up to 21 or 20 points per game, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Everything is a career high. And you look at what his stats were last year. I mean, they've jumped, and you can just make the argument, well, yeah, he's got more opportunity, but everybody that gets more opportunity doesn't necessarily see those kinds of increases. So, I think he's firmly entrenched in what the core of what Atlanta's trying to do going forward. And I think he's just been taking the most advantage of his opportunity. So I like him for the award. I think a lot of people also say Jalen Duren, which I think is obviously fair as well. He's really blossomed into the guy there in the center, at the center position for Detroit, and he's just been a force to be reckoned with. So I think you could go with either one of those guys. Denny's obviously very good. Denny's missed a lot of games, but I noticed that doesn't really matter so much with him, the most improved player award. So all three of those guys have had really, really strong seasons, and I could see any one of them winning it. But my vote, if I had to give one, would go to Nikhil.
Oh, okay. Well, looking at it so far, with Denny, they got 9-10 games left. He cannot miss more than 4 games, though. So if he misses more than 4 games, he will be ineligible for the award for MIP. How I noticed, one, I just looked it up, but also I was listening to a podcast today, and I forget the person that was on, but the journalist was talking about literally what you mentioned. For any award where the 65 games should not matter, it should be most improved. So they have not obviously implemented that yet, but Denny could only afford to miss 4 more games. I believe this article is right that I'm reading right here. 4 more games that if he does miss it, then he'll won't be eligible for it. But you did mention Jalen Duren, who has stepped up big time in the season as a whole, but stepped up big time for the Pistons with Cade being out. What is the outlook for Detroit with reports that Cade can return right before the playoffs or at the beginning of the playoffs?
What's the outlook? I mean, I think they've got like a 9-2, 9-3, 8-3. They're around that range record without Cade and without looking at all the teams that they've played. I mean, obviously they beat our Lakers, but I think that they've got a really solid system there. I do have concerns about once they get into the playoffs about having that solidified second creator, scorer, engine almost, if you will, to sort of release some of that pressure off of Cade if he's back, or just sort of take up that mantle if he's not. But I think for the first round.
Hey, can I chime in on that real quick? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
I was actually looking at a post earlier about the Pistons without Cade. Their record's actually pretty decent without Cade, and Dennis Jenkins has averaged like 17 and like 8 assists with Cade out. So
yeah,
maybe he can be that secondary playmaker that we've been talking about all season.
I mean, he looked good against LA. He looked real good. I mean, as most opposing point guards do. So, maybe that's an outlier. But no, he's been really solid, and he can he plays both sides of the ball, and I think he's far outplayed whatever his contract is, because he was a two-way guy that got converted, right? I
believe so.
So, yeah, I think he's been a pleasant surprise with him. But I think first round they'll be okay. If there's no Cade, if he's coming back right around that time right at the beginning or midway through that first series, I still think they'll be all right. I think where things can sort of become a challenge for them is his second round, depending on who their matchup is. But we'll have to wait and see.
So that second round, more than likely that matchup would be the Cleveland Cavaliers. Your pick to advance.
My former pick.
super early forecasting. Cavs see the Pistons second round. How does that series go?
There's a lot of variables. to the potential situation. But I would, you know what? I'm gonna stand 10 toes. I would say the Cavs would win in 7.
I
Why
like
not?
that. I like that.
Worst case,
Jarrett.
worst case, I'm just wrong, and I've been wrong plenty of times before, so it won't be any shock.
Hey, Jarrett, I want to ask you before we talk about what's going on with Giannis and the NBPA and all that weird situation over there. Staying with the Cavs, right? Is this the playoffs where we see James Harden get that stink off, that stigma of him being a playoff choker?
No. I think he's wet the bed too many times at this point in his career that we can't ignore. No matter of fact, not ignore. We can't. What's the word I'm looking for? I think we just can't bypass what he's done back in the day and not believe he will do it again. I think
even with Donovan Mitchell giving him help, you got Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen.
With Donovan Mitchell there, a lot of people won't agree with my take on Donovan Mitchell, because I think he's a big time playoff performer. Like, I feel like he always shows up playoff time. I just feel like he's in situations where the team isn't built for the playoffs, or they kind of fold in the playoff time, but he still shows up. Like last playoffs, like the team just broke down in the playoffs. Like everybody got hurt at the same time, and Donovan Mitchell was still trying to will his team to win. Them Jazz teams were not built to win any playoff series. I think he kind of like was the floor raiser for that team, because the second option on that team was probably Mike Conley. But on playoff time, Mike Conley is a good player, but he's a small point guard. He can't be your second best guy come playoff time when he's not even really a scorer mentality type of guy. You know what I'm saying? As far as Harden goes, you know what? We know what Harden is he's going to have one high game, he's going to have one low game. Like, I already learned to accept that. It's Evan Mobley who needs to be stepping up. That's really who I think that's the person who we need to start looking at. The so-called defensive player of the year, the so-called, defensive anchor, generational defender, whoever you want to call him. He needs to start putting up some offense. And he needs to start grabbing 10 rebounds, 12 rebounds a game. He's the one who I feel like he has to be the one to really make that Cavs team go, because you're a modern day big. You're 6'11", you can handle the ball, you can defend multiple positions, you can shoot. You could do a lot of things in the basketball court, but you seem like you just be kind of coasting. So he needs to be the one to be more aggressive, have that killing mentality, and go after it. Like Shaq said, I need 25 and 15, big fella.
I think with that, watching Cavs games, and I forget which game this was, who they played, but one of their recent games, Evan Mobley was 8 for 8 first half. Didn't shoot after that. I think they have to make sure that they are getting him involved. Maybe it's early, spread it throughout the game, because Evan Mobley, to your point, he has the skill set to be our generation's Kevin Garnett in a sense. I think the issue that arises for Evan Mobley is on a team where you have James Harden, who loves a pick and roll big, which you have Jarrett Allen. They had chemistry from day one soon as he stepped on the court. Evan Mobley, on the other hand, is more of, I'm a pick and pop, I'm a slip. So I think they're still trying to figure out the best way possible. And with Jarrett Allen being out, they've kind of found some chemistry. Jarrett Allen is supposed to return, I believe, next week. Does that chemistry stay once Jarrett Allen is back, who obviously is the more cohesive big for James Harden in the style that he plays? And then when you have Donovan Mitchell, we know Donovan Mitchell really isn't there to play make. He can, but I'm here to put my head down. I'm going to get my 30, my 40, I'm gonna look over to my wife, Coco. She gonna sing a song at halftime, and y'all got to figure out the rest. That's where I think is the toughest thing. Is like the coach, maybe Harden as the point guard. They got to figure out how to get Mobley involved because to your point, Mobley can give you that 25 and 15 in a series. I'm very confident that that's possible that he could do that. Jarrett.
Yeah, it was that Magic series when against Cleveland, and Mobley was kind of like okay throughout that series until Game 7 that he just turned up out of nowhere. It's like, okay, this is what you should have been doing the entire series. Like, this is what we need on a consistent basis. And with the Cavs, they have like two ball dominant guards. Sometimes Mobley just got like, yo, give me the ball, get out the way, straight up. Like, just give me the ball. I gotta do my thing real quick. I gotta dominate my matchup. Get out the way. Simple as that. But I don't know, man. I just feel like you said, he can be the modern day Kevin Garnett. I really feel that way too. But he needs that Kevin Garnett mentality. That's really what it comes down to. Mentality is 80% of a basketball player's, what they're going to do out there. What's their mentality? Like, you going to be out there coasting, or you going out there try to kill your matchup?
Hey, being that they have those two dominant ball guards, I might, even if he could give us, I want him and Jarrett Allen. Y'all need to dominate the boards. Y'all need to make sure ain't nobody getting buckets. Because KG on that back end of his career, he wasn't so much getting buckets, but it was going to be a long night for the offense. So even if Evan Mobley can be talking about, if we could get a series where Evan Mobley is literally talking about, all right, I'm averaging only 12 or 15 points, but 15 to 18 boards, 2-3 blocks, 2-3 steals, that's a game changer. And that gives ease to those two ball dominant guards who both aren't really the best defenders. They'll get you some steals here and there, but they aren't the best defenders on ball. More so, a little bit better off ball defenders. But I'm agreeing with Rush, especially for the Cavs organization as a whole. You traded away your under 26-year-old point guard Darius Garland for James Harden, which changes the discussion in the next 2 years. While you have him, y'all gotta at least make one finals run. I think without an Easter setup, no Tyrese Halliburton, Tatum is back, but he hasn't been efficient with him being back. Knicks is up and down. Big Cat home. The Pistons, Cade injuries. This is one of the best opportunities for the Cavs to do it.
And I think you said you agree with me.
I agree with you. If they see the Pistons second round, I think they could beat them. I would pick them. I wouldn't say 7 maybe, because I don't know if they're gonna win in Detroit. It might get a little rowdy. So maybe 5 or 6. It might have to be. But going into Detroit, hey, if they go into Detroit and win a game 7, hey, put them in the finals. If they pull that off, put them in the finals. And I disagree with Jarrett in regards of, I think this is the year where we see James Harden change that narrative. I think he has a better playoffs this year than he's had in the past.
Well, he doesn't have to carry anymore, though.
Yeah, we just need him, though, that game 5, that pivotal game 5, that game 6, the closeout game, whatever number it is, we need James Harden to show up then. To Jared's point, we saw last year, played the Celtics or the Sixers. Forget what team they played, but
Boston.
Joker had Boston. He had the 2 40 pieces.
Yep.
But for the rest of the series, he averaged 11. Nah, bro.
Bro, game 7, him and B looked so bad, bro. Oh my god.
That's when we need it. I would rather give me the 40 pieces when I need it. That's the only issue it's been with James Harden. When we need it, we don't get it. When we need it, we don't get it. And that's the thing with James Harden. I think this year, with having a running mate like Donovan Mitchell, when we need it, I think we'll be able to see it when it comes from him. Rush.
We spent a lot of time on Cleveland. I just want to let everybody know we spent a good amount of time on the Cleveland Cavaliers. So people can't say that we show favoritism toward the. We're not coastal elites here. We don't just care about the Knicks and the Lakers. We spend time on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Spread the love around here on the corner three.
Talking about spreading love, Rush, talk to me about your thoughts on this very, very interesting standoff between Giannis, the NBPA, and the Milwaukee Bucks, because it's all been reported Giannis wants to keep playing. The Bucks, we trying to get a top pick, my boy, and you're probably going to ask to trade in the summer, so we don't give too darn about playing you, and we don't want you to get injured, because then that impacts trade packages.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this standoff that's going over in Milwaukee?
It's weird, but the whole thing has been weird for a while now, and it's weird on the NBA PA part, because if you look at the statement, they made a comment about, anti-tanking rules are only as effective as they're implemented, by essentially saying that Milwaukee is not adhering to those measures. But it's like, y'all been real quiet about what's happening in Utah Players Association. So, I mean, it's a little hypocritical. But yeah, I mean, Milwaukee has a responsibility to the organization, to their fans, to try to put the team in the best position to win. They've put all these rabbits out of their hat to try to get Giannis guys to help keep him happy and to keep the team contending. And there's some dead money on the cap because of that, because they waived Dame, and you're not going to have a lot of opportunities to get a top pick, or to have a chance to get a top pick, when you've got an all-world talent like Giannis on your squad. So I think what they may be trying to pitch to him is like, yo, let's shut it down, because you've had like 3 calf strains this season, among a shaky knee. Let's shut it down. Let's see what happens with this pick. If it's top, if we get lucky and it goes higher than whatever, and we get to keep it, now we've got you, we've got Miles, we've got some guys that we got some contracts that we can probably move. We're gonna get probably eventually your successor. We've been able to get you guys in the past, so trust our ability to get you maybe one more piece, maybe not a superstar, but a complimentary margin guy who can really make a difference. Because nowadays, with these max salaries being so big, it really is your role players that help set you apart from the competition. I think they're probably trying to pitch to him, give us like one more chance, because there's a world where if these things hit, we can be right back competing at the top of the East next year. But it doesn't seem like Giannis, if that is what they're pitching, it doesn't seem like Giannis is buying it. So I don't know. It's just a weird situation. It really is. I can understand the organization wanting him to just chill out, because even if he does end up staying, he's going to ask them for a supermax contract more than likely. And I would feel, as great as he is, I would be very hesitant to tender that offer with how his injuries, not only that the injuries are stacking up, it's where the injuries are stacking up, combined with his play style. It would just make me nervous. So yeah, it's a mess. And I thought I had swore off talking about the Bucks until the trade happened, but it was such an interesting situation that I put it on in our group chat. But that'd be one of the more interesting things to watch as we go to the end of the season.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a surprise by me. I agree. If he was of that mindset, especially with how everything went down with the trade deadline, and then after it's done, he joins the announcement with Kalshi, or however you say it, with the gambling company, Giannis been moving a little weird as of late, and yes, Ron, yes, their coach is Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is a very interesting guy, man. I said it on Threads. When Cam Thomas came, he had those 2 good games. This man, hey, I've coached Lou Williams before, and I've coached Jamal Crawford before, and I've never seen anything over there sound like Cassius Clay, just singing his praises. Then Cam gets cut, and this man said, some things we shouldn't talk about. Ain't nobody asked you about the Epstein files. Why y'all cut Cam? That was the question, and he don't want to answer. He don't want nothing to say.
I think we know why they cut Cam though. It's the same reason that the Nets cut Cam. I'm willing to let Doc slide on this one because I think Cam Thomas is who he is, and I haven't seen a whole lot of Cam Thomas willing to adjust to in the interim to sort of get the kind of role he wants long term. So I'm willing to let Doc. I'm giving Doc.
I agree. Nah, we not letting him slide just on the aspect of you started off praising and glazing him after 2 games.
I mean, what's he gonna say? Like he's got a shit attitude and he be chucking. Like he's not gonna come out and say it.
Hey, you had something to say about Ben, and now Ben's a Fisher.
What did he say? What did he say about Ben? I forgot. What did he say? Oh man, I can't remember.
I can't remember, but it was something along the lines of like, we need better point guard play. We got a better point guard. And then they asked him about the not taking the layup. And at 6'9", he should have took the layup. So maybe, all right, you're right. Maybe Doc has matured and learned from the Ben Simmons situation. You made this man retire, messed up his mental. Now he's a pro Fisher. So maybe he doesn't want to see Cam go down that same road.
Can I ask you a question about Cam Thomas?
Cameron? Yeah.
Cameron Thomas. Yeah. So me and one of my friends was talking about the role Cam Thomas probably is portrayed as the undersized microwave scorer who doesn't play defense. Do you think that type of NBA player is getting phased out the NBA as far as small guards who could really score the ball and aren't, plus defenders? Because the league is getting bigger. We have a lot of big point guards now. We have a lot of wings. So I wanted you guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, phased out, but completely. I mean, you'll have exceptions, but I think they're not as coveted as maybe they once used to be, or they're not as they're probably lower. And if you're sort of scouting for players to add to your system, they're probably lower on the list than maybe they were in the future or how they were in the past. It's all 3-and-D wing is everything that we hear, or big men who can sort of stretch the floor, tall ball dominant guards, tall point guards who are athletic or can at least tall and can shoot over defenses or get into the paint with ease. So everything seems to be sort of skewing taller, athletic, but definitely if you're shorter, excuse me, because I know Tone said we can't call guards little. If you're shorter and you don't play any defense, it's almost guaranteed that you're not going to see a lot of minutes, if any.
So going back to that point, so I was watching a video of Lou Williams talk about he can never talk bad on Doc because when he thought he was about to be out the league, Doc, basically kind of put a system for Lou Will to thrive in, where we'll put you in positions on defense where you just need to make like somewhat of an effort, and we'll cover up the rest. And if you do that, you can shoot whatever you want. You have the green light. So I thought that would be a situation for Cam Thomas because supposedly Doc Rivers is the six-man whisperer. You know what I'm saying? So, Tone, I want your thoughts on it too.
Cam just isn't good, bro. If your job is we need you to be a bucket getter, he isn't efficient. It's a lot of bad shot selection, which is why I was confused after the 2 games. This man was glazing. He is not in my opinion, my humble opinion, he is not in the same breath as Jamal Crawford and Lou Will. Those are some of the arguably top 2, top 3 6-man. Of course, you add in Manu Ginobili as well. Cam ain't there.
Like Cam can
And on
score.
your not consistently enough and not efficiently enough.
Bro, he had like 3 40-point games back to back on the Nets with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Did we forget about that?
You just mentioned 3 games. You want to break down the career?
No, 40.
No. Do you want to break down the career? You want to break down the career? Do you know how skilled NBA players are?
That's
If we put
120 points, bro.
I know how to do basic math. I know how to do basic math. You mentioned 3 games though.
3.
You mentioned 3 games. The career.
That's skilled.
The
though.
career. Nobody said he wasn't skilled. Everybody that's in the NBA, everybody in the NBA is skilled.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, why can't he find a role as a microwave scorer 6-man? That's what I'm saying.
Well, from what's being said, the Joker got a terrible attitude and doesn't want to do anything else to impact the game.
That's completely different. I can't.
Because
Yeah,
I'll speak on it. Look at your team, the Knicks. Your man Jordan Clarkson was in the doghouse. How he start getting minutes again? He start playing defense. He start getting some assists. First thing Cam said when the Nets waived him and the Bucks signed him, this was his words. His words, and I quote, "They're going to get a great scorer. They're going to get a playmaker," which is a full, bold-faced lie. Playmaker, I don't know if he was trying to, prop himself up, but he ain't never been a playmaker.
Playmaker himself.
And what he did not mention of what the Bucks were getting, signing Cameron Boucher Thomas, he ain't mentioned nothing about defense. That's been a thing that they've been crying and begging this man to play some defense. If you're going to be 6'3", 210, 215, you better be an elite bucket getter. You better be on a Donovan Mitchell level.
But is he not? That's what I'm saying.
On whose level?
Bro, Cam can score.
No. Finish your sentence. On whose level?
He can't. You say he could be an elite bucket getter. He's
No. I just mentioned Donovan Mitchell. I mentioned specifically Donovan Mitchell level.
Listen, Cam Thomas averaged about 22 points.
That's not Donovan Mitchell level.
22 points, bro.
That's not Donovan Mitchell's level, bro. That's not Donovan Mitchell's level.
We can't compare them two.
He's 6'3". Donovan Mitchell 6'4". If you're a smaller guard, this will be counterproductive to my point. Donovan Mitchell's not 6'4". I know that for a fact. But Donovan Mitchell does do other things on the basketball court compared to Cameron Thomas. What I'm saying is, I still do think Cameron Thomas can have a role in this league. You might be the only one. Maybe you could sign him on 2K. I'm looking at these stats, bro. I don't see it. Y'all let me know in the chat if I'm bugging, but I don't see. I think Cam should call LaMelo and find out about that Australian league. Remember when LaMelo was overseas? I think he should call LaMelo and find out about a league overseas, or call Lou Will, find about China. Jamal Crawford, I know he does a pro-am in the summertime. He could go play in the pro-am in Seattle. There's a lot of places. Cam basketball will take you a lot of places in this world. Sometimes it's just not the NBA.
Go ahead, Russ. I know you got something to say.
No, I have nothing on this. Yeah. I got absolutely nothing to add. I'm good on this.
Hey, can Cam Thomas score? Yes, but from what all reports are being said, and who was it he was mad with? That reporter that he was mad with before the season started.
It was Zach Lowe.
Zach
It was
Lowe.
Zach Lowe.
Even how he handled that.
That
Even
was
if,
crazy. I remember that. That was actually crazy.
but
Cameron
this is
was
this
fine.
is what I'll say, and we'll end off this conversation about a player that we will probably never see in the league again. Cameron Thomas
Hey, look, what's
would
his
not
face?
be in this situation if he took the initial offer that the Nets gave him. Sometimes when you bet on yourself, just like anything else that you can gamble on, FanDuel, if you're at the casino and you blackjack and you, hey, hit me, and then you, oh, I'm over 21, there is an opportunity that you can lose. He bet on himself. He didn't improve in the other areas. Hey, you're more than welcome to be on the corner three.
No, first
No,
of
he's
all.
not.
But if Killian Hayes can get a bunch of stints in the league, then Cam Thomas can get
Rush,
another.
I know you're not about to say some
Killian Hayes
nonsense
has a
like that.
2
I'm
year
just
deal
saying.
with the
He
Kings.
got
I'm just
signed
saying.
to the Kings. Are we
I'm
counting
just
the Kings
saying.
as a competent franchise?
You said he won't be back in the league. I'm just saying, if Killian Hayes can get signed, Cam
But
Thomas
Killian
can
Hayes
get-
don't have a bad rep though. He don't have that bad rep from
Killian
coaches.
Hayes has a great PR rep. That's all I'm gonna say.
But I'm saying Cam Thomas, what's the rumor about Cam Thomas? Bad attitude, doesn't take good shots, doesn't want to do anything else but score. And being the fact also doesn't help your case when the Brooklyn Nets said, nah, we don't want this boy no more. We don't want this man. The Brooklyn Nets, they trying to lose. They could have kept you on the team. You wanted to help win. That's the other thing with Cam. Go get your 40. Once Kyrie and KD left, and he had that 1 year by himself, and wasn't many wins produced. So from what I've heard from scouts and other coaches and the bevy of podcasts that I've listened to of journalists way more smarter than me, they view players like Cam, players on other losing teams getting points like that, they don't view it as well as somebody getting points in a winning situation, or those points lead to wins. I even heard today they was talking about, I don't know if we would put Keontae George in the MIP conversation because how the Jazz have been playing hasn't been actual winning basketball, and some of his stats haven't always led to winning. That's how I view it. Yes, Cam obviously is very skilled and can score 20 in his sleep, but Cam can't impact winning. It hasn't shown it as of yet. That's just as of yet. He isn't 30 plus or nothing like that. Hyperbole, sure. Maybe he'll get another chance in the league. Who knows? I don't see it happening with how coaches, the Zach Lowe's of the world, have been talking about him. And I agree, Rome. Cam Thomas, that's a pretty good cop. Cam Thomas is Andrew Bynum as a guard.
Andrew Bynum was an all-star and a champion.
But Andrew Bynum's potential.
I want us to move off this subject.
It's the perfect transition, though. You mentioned Andrew Bynum, who a former LA Laker, like you said, champion. Have the Lakers ceiling, has it changed, Rush?
Did he freeze? I think he rose.
Nah, he ain't freeze.
You sure?
He ain't freeze. I just saw him blink. He ain't frozen.
We sure?
Hey, now I don't know. I don't see no. Yeah,
There we go.
I was about to say, bro, you need to breathe. I wasn't seeing the chest move or nothing.
We sure he ain't freeze? Like, that's a great freeze moment.
Yo, imagine if Doc was in here, he would have done that. That
Oh,
would have
yeah.
ended up on.
Someone had to get that screenshot.
That's a meme about to happen for sure.
I
Hey,
hope Rome got that.
once he gets back, Rome definitely probably got that, and it's about to be posted in like 2 minutes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he got the
Rome got
screenshot.
screenshot.
What happened?
Yo, you froze.
Oh, did I?
You froze, and me and Jarrett was like, "Yo, he froze." I said, "Nah, I just seen him blink. You ain't, you ain't blink." So you'll see the screenshot. It was a hilarious frozen
Yeah,
part, bro.
It was
Because
the internet.
literally
The
asked about
internet
the
just-
Lakers.
The internet just spazzed. I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
I
it was
think,
the
I think-
perfect timing too. It's just
Yeah, I think they're because speaking of the Lakers, it's 10:30. But I think their ceilings changed mainly just because the standings have changed. So I think right now they're supposed to get if the standings held, they would get Houston because it'd be that 3-6, and I think that they can beat Houston. It might be tougher than it was a couple weeks ago, and even then, those were tough. Those were some tough games. But after that, you're probably looking at San Antonio. So, I don't know. Luka could go nuclear. Luka typically performs in the postseason, and he played well last year. I think that the Lakers were outmatched from a center standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, but I think JJ's better, and obviously I think Aiden's better than Jackson Hayes as a starter, as somebody who can somewhat neutralize Gobert on the boards. So you would need probably a Herculean effort from Luka, and you would need all the big three all clicking at once, and even then it'd probably be an uphill battle against the Spurs. But I think they'd have a puncher's chance. So I think the ceiling has changed ever so slightly, but I think especially in the first round, their odds have improved greatly, considering how they've been playing and considering how Houston's been playing. They've kind of been going in opposite directions. So yeah, I think it's the ceiling's going up a little bit, but not too much.
Hey, before we get out here, I want to ask you this though. So we're projecting that it's going to be the Houston Rockets, but between 4 and 6, it's only a game and a half difference.
Yeah.
How would you feel if the Lakers at first round have to see Denver or Minnesota?
I'd feel a little less excited about it, but I'd still like them. I still would think that they could win a first round series against any three of those teams.
I especially think Denver, because Denver has their main issue this year has been the defensive side and getting timely stops when needed, which we saw their most recent game in the 130s, I believe it was. And it was only because the Suns, only because Devin Booker missed a wide open three. It wasn't even contested. He don't miss that many wide open threes. So in a 7-game series, that might have been a loss. So that is a plus for the Lakers. I'm not a believer in the Houston Rockets. They obviously still need a point guard. It's been glaring. They can play very well the first 3.5 quarters or so. If it's a close game, you're in shooter, you're in touch 5-6 points to actually close the gap. Houston is not one of the teams like the Lakers when it comes to crunch time minutes. And we look at the record and the stats, they don't do well when it comes down to that, especially with how teams lately have been like, hey, the game is 2-point difference. Let's just go send a double to KD and somebody else beat us. Sengun being back is helpful, but I don't see them. My biggest concern out of those 3 would be the Minnesota Timberwolves, because I think the Timberwolves is really that's a dark horse in the West. Any given night, they could beat anybody in the West, including OKC, including San Antonio. I think they honestly have the best chance as a dark horse to knock one of those 2 off out of everybody. Honestly, I don't know why. Minnesota will literally see the Sacramento Kings and lay an egg. But they will wake up for OKC. They'll wake up for the Lakers. They'll wake up. We saw them beat teams with Ant being out. So Minnesota, I think, is a really scary team. That's going to be that first round series. If it's them in Denver, that's going to feed families. That's going to feed families and book it for 7-game series. 7 games. And that's where I think it does help out OKC. OKC will get out probably 4 or 5. Denver, Minnesota, they going to be beating each other up before they get to that next round, which will only benefit the 24 deep OKC Thunder. So that was this episode. That wraps this one up. We appreciate everybody that was in here. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. We trying to be here for a good time and a long time. Y'all know the best 3 is the corner 3. We out. Peace.